seated. We begin first with a poem for Christmas by Joseph Brodsky. It is translated by Seamus Haney. Imagine striking a match that night in the cave. Use the cracks in the floor to feel the cold. Use crockery in order to feel the hunger and to feel the desert, but the desert is everywhere. Imagine striking a match in that midnight cave, the fire, the farm beasts in outline, the farm tools and stuff, and imagine as you towel your face in the towel's folds, the bundled up infant, and Mary and Joseph. Imagine the kings, the caravan's stilted procession as they make for the cave, or rather, 3 beams closing in and in on the star. The creaking of loads, the clink of a cowbell, but in the cerulean thickening over the infant, no bell and no echo of bell. He hasn't earned it yet. Imagine the Lord for the first time from darkness and stranded immensely in distance, recognizing himself in the Son of Man, homeless, going out to himself in a homeless one. As we prepare for the word preached, would you join with me your hearts and minds in prayer? O God, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of each of our hearts be found acceptable in your sight, for you are our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. We can see, we can smell, we can hear everything about the Christmas story. The first Christmas story, that's the glory of being born in a barn. It is not subtle. We can see the cow's breath in the cold and the dim light from a lamp or two. We can see the stuff of birth, body bearing down, water and sweat, blood and tears. We can see the worry on Joseph's face change to elation, and the anguish of birth pangs change to relief in Mary's. We can smell the sweetness of hay perfuming the air, and the punctuation of rank manure in the same space. The cold, too, is punctuated by the smell of bodies that have sweated and gone too long without a bath. We can hear the mewing and lowing of animals amid both the shrill and guttural sounds of birth. Mary grunting with each push and wailing with each contraction. Birth, it is not pretty, and it is hard work. We can hear the encouragement, the instruction, the back and forth of birthing, and then a hush. The hush when you wait and sometimes agonizingly wait for that inaugural cry of life to pierce the silence. We hear the cry of God with us, Emmanuel, the holy brought down low, the holy born of mean estate. We hear the cry of relief and unconditional love. the cry of Mary, the favored one, so young, so vulnerable, entrusted to bear and birth God. We hear the cry of the honorable one, the cry of Joseph, encouraged by the angel to claim this child who was not his as his own. This is the sound that love makes. All these glorious and less glamorous sounds. This is the sound love makes in the story of the birth of God. This week in the book Lo, an honest devotional, which many of us are reading together, author John Pavlovus prompts us to consider the sound love makes. He quotes 1 Corinthians 13 and how it begins, "If I speak all the languages of mortals and of angels, but do not have love, I am a noisy gong. I'm a clanging cymbal." Then he talks about wanting to get it right. Religion, that is. He sounds like the third verse of that first hymn we sang, "We shall obediently follow," like Jesus, who was so obedient all of those days. Obedient, obedient, obedient. Get it right, get it right. Yes, John Pavlovitz talks about how he really wanted to get it right in his former years. And those of us, friends, who have come through religions that are rule-based, we understand his impetus. But he says, these days, I don't care much for ironclad theology or an airtight apologetic. It doesn't matter how much religious stuff we get right in this life. If we haven't really loved people well, we've gotten the rightness thing wrong. To many people outside the church, he concludes, Christians are simply clanging cymbals, making loud and loveless noise. It turns out the old church camp song was right. We will be known by our love. We must be known by our love. It is love and love alone by which we will be known. End of story. And in our world, which is angry and tired, weary, worn, and warring, in our world, which is often loud and obnoxiously so, what is the sound that love makes so that we, the church with a small c, and we, the church with a capital C, the embodiment of Christ alive and well on the earth, can make? What is that sound of love? So that we are not just another noise added to the cacophony. Check the news. There's been a lot of noise added to the cacophony this week. How might we do differently? Love is the sound of an elder greeting a child by name. Love is the sound of the creaking pew when a person who doesn't even have children in Sunday school rises to go downstairs and teach. Love is the sound of 18 people stuffed into a room with people who do not often know what day it is, but when the carolers begin to sing, "Hark the herald angels sing," they know every word and they sing along. Love is the sound of the moving around of furniture in the campus ministry office and the click, click, click of computer keys and the question, "Can you hear us? Can you hear us now? Maybe we should move the computer closer to the Wi-Fi. Can you hear us now?" so that those who live far away and those who have already gone away for the holiday can participate in a campus ministry board meeting earlier this week via video chat. That's the sound that love makes. Love is the sound of a group of you singing on the front steps of the church, and me saying over and over and over again, "Would you like a cup of hot cocoa? It's free, it has marshmallows, it's real good." Sometimes followed by, "Because we're your neighbors, and we want to be good neighbors. That's why. Here, have a cup of cocoa. Merry Christmas." Love is the sound of workers lugging supplies down the stairs so that our elevator can be repaired and accessibility to our building can be restored. Love is the sound of you writing checks to make that possible. Love is the sound of chopping vegetables and stirring the soup. Love is the sound that the dishwasher makes on Monday nights so that hungry people can be fed and lonely people can be loved. Love is the Pentecost sound of many voices being spoken at the English as a second language class that happens 3 times a week in our building. It's the sound of these old women who come and lead the friendship group every Thursday morning with international students and spouses, handing out cookies and explaining how things in America work. Love is the sound of the coffee pot percolating at an AA meeting. Love is this sound. It is the strike of the match, the opening of the book, the pouring of the water, the hand that is shook. Love is the sound of the popping of the cork and the breaking of the bread. It is the hum of our hearts when we've been well fed. So in this last week of the season of Advent, don't keep the world waiting. Don't keep the noise down. Let the sound that love makes be loud. And you don't have to worry about getting it right, because there's plenty of grace in God's house to go around. Let love be loud. Bravely, like Mary, sing songs of justice. Honorably, like Joseph, provide for people who are not your responsibility. Exuberantly, like the shepherds, share good news with the whole town. Be nurturing like Elizabeth, care for someone who's vulnerable and young and needs support. Be forthcoming like the angels, remind people not to be afraid. Be whistleblowers like the wise ones, blow tyranny's cover. Friends, this is the sound that love makes. Let it be loud and let it resound. Amen.